Listen to me closely. If you spend your whole life watching someone else's path, you will miss your own. You cannot chase your destiny while keeping your eyes on someone else's journey. The truth is, life has not called you to be a duplicate, it has called you to be an original. And the tragedy of too many lives is not that they failed, but that they never lived their own life because they were too busy watching someone else's. You see, there comes a moment when you must make a decision. Am I going to keep comparing myself to the highlight reel of others? Or will I focus on cultivating the power within me? Because comparison will strip you of peace, it will rob you of clarity, and it will make you forget who you are. And hear me, you cannot fulfill a divine assignment with a distracted mind. The reason some people feel so drained, so unfulfilled, is because their energy is leaking into the lives of others. They're measuring themselves against people who were never meant to be their standard. Oh, but when you detach from the noise, when you withdraw your attention from the crowd, you begin to feel your soul again. You begin to hear the whisper of God inside you saying, "This is who you are. This is what I've called you to do. This is why you were born." Focus on yourself, not because you're selfish, but because you're called. There's a difference. Selfishness is when you live only for you. But focus is when you align your life with purpose so that you can give your best to the world. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot serve from a distracted soul. The more you focus inward, the more powerful your outward impact becomes. You must develop the courage to detach emotionally from needing people's approval. Some of you are imprisoned by the opinions of others, chained by their expectations, silenced by their judgments. But freedom comes when you realize their voices cannot dictate your destiny. When you stand firm in your own identity, when you own your truth, you step into a power that no one can take from you. That is the strength of focus. It's not about arrogance, it's about clarity. And let me remind you, energy flows where attention goes. So, if you give all your attention to gossip, to competition, to jealousy, you drain the very fuel you need for your assignment. But if you give that attention to your vision, your growth, your healing, your faith, your mind, your life multiplies. You elevate, you rise, you become unstoppable. So I say this to you today. Stop waiting for the applause. Stop chasing after recognition. Stop looking left and right to see what they're doing. Look inward. Look upward. Focus on yourself. Feed the seed that has been placed within you. Protect it, nurture it, and let it grow into the masterpiece it was designed to be. Because when you focus on yourself, you don't just change your own life. You unlock the power to change generations. When you look at another person's life and start measuring your worth against their success, you are committing one of the greatest acts of self-sabotage. Comparison blinds you to the miracle of your own journey. It makes you believe that your value is tied to their performance, that your worth is determined by what they have achieved. But the truth is, their path has nothing to do with your destiny. Their timing is not your timing, their season is not your season, and their assignment is not your assignment, it's not your assignment. Every time you compare yourself to another, you dilute your own identity, and you begin to live life as a shadow instead of a light. Comparison is deceptive because it creates the illusion that someone else's success means your failure. That's a lie. Someone else's breakthrough is not your breakdown. Someone else's achievement does not cancel out your opportunity. But when you allow comparison to dominate your thoughts, you start to envy what they have instead of cultivating what you've been given. You trade your authenticity for imitation, and you spend your energy chasing someone else's story instead of writing your own. Destiny is not found in competition. Destiny is found in alignment with who you were created to be. Think about it. When you compare yourself to another person, you're comparing what you see in them to what you don't see in yourself. You see their polished results, but you don't see their private struggles. You see the fruit, but you don't see the roots. You see the chapter they're living in, but not the pages of pain it took for them to get there. And here's the danger. You end up despising your process because you're admiring their outcome. But every outcome is the product of a process, and your process is sacred. It was designed uniquely for you. There is no greater tragedy than abandoning your purpose to imitate someone else's. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the full expression of you. You were created with divine fingerprints, a design so specific that no one else can duplicate it. But when you spend your life in comparison, you smother that design, and you silence the voice that says, "Oh, this is who you are." The enemy of your soul wants you to live distracted by others so that you never awaken to your own greatness. But destiny demands focus. It demands that you stop measuring yourself by others and start measuring yourself by your God-given potential. Let me remind you, comparison will always rob you. It will rob you of joy because you will never feel enough. It will rob you of peace because you will always be restless about what you lack. It will rob you of confidence because you will always doubt your own ability. And worst of all, it will rob you of destiny because you cannot pursue your calling while envying someone else. You must choose. Either you waste your life looking outward or you commit your life to looking inward. You cannot do both. The moment you free yourself from comparison, you step into power. You begin to see that your story has value, your pain has purpose, and your gifts have meaning. You no longer feel threatened by another person's success because you recognize there is enough room at the table for everyone. You celebrate them without losing yourself, and you honor your own journey without apology. That's when you start living. That's when you begin to manifest destiny, when you stop comparing and start becoming. Detachment is often misunderstood. People think when you detach, you are rejecting others, or abandoning relationships, or cutting yourself off from the world. But hear me, it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's redirection. Detachment is about protecting your spirit, conserving your energy, and aligning yourself with the purpose that God has placed within you. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the courage to step back, to release the grip you have on people, situations, and outcomes that are draining you. Because if you hold on too tightly to what doesn't serve you, you'll never have the strength to reach for what's waiting for you. There are moments in life when God will separate you from certain people, certain environments, and certain distractions, not to punish you, but to prepare you. When you detach, you create space for clarity. You create room for growth. You create the silence needed to hear your own heart again. Detachment is not about becoming cold or bitter. It's about becoming focused. It's about learning that not every battle is yours to fight, not every invitation is yours to accept, and not every voice deserves your attention. When you stop pouring energy into things that don't feed your destiny, you suddenly discover how much power you truly have. Think about this. A tree grows strongest when its roots go deep, not wide. Detachment is about going deep within yourself rather than spreading your energy outward in 100 directions. Too often we scatter ourselves, trying to please everybody, trying to meet everyone's expectations, trying to prove our worth to people who may never even see our value. But when you detach, you stop scattering and you start centering. And you start centering. You stop running after validation and you start building foundation. Detachment allows you to anchor yourself in your own calling so that whether people applaud you or abandon you, you remain unshaken. Some of you right now are suffering because you've attached your peace to people who are unstable. You've tied your joy to situations that shift like the wind. You've connected your identity to the opinions of others, and now your life rises and falls with their approval. But listen, detachment is freedom. It's the realization that you don't need their validation to live, you don't need their agreement to move forward, and you don't need their permission to be who you are. When you detach from needing their acceptance, you begin to walk in divine confidence. You stop living as a prisoner of other people's expectations and start living as the author of your own story. This is why I say detachment is redirection. Because when you pull your energy back from what doesn't align with your purpose, you don't just lose something, you gain something. You gain something. You gain focus. You gain peace. You gain the strength to invest in what truly matters. Detachment teaches you to stop chasing after what is leaving and start cultivating what is coming. Sometimes life will remove people and opportunities from your path, not because you're being denied, but because you're being redirected. What looks like loss is often protection. What feels like rejection is actually guidance. And when you finally embrace this truth, you step into a higher dimension of strength. You no longer cry over closed doors because you understand that closed doors are God's way of pointing you to the right one. You no longer cling desperately to relationships that are over because you know the end of one season is the beginning of another. Detachment gives you the freedom to walk away from what diminishes you and walk boldly toward what develops you. That's not rejection, it's redirection. It's redirection. And when you live this way, you walk in peace, you walk in power, and you walk in purpose. The truth is, everything you experience outwardly is a reflection of what is happening inwardly. You cannot expect peace on the outside if your inner world is filled with chaos. You cannot expect clarity in your circumstances if your mind is clouded with confusion. Life doesn't start with what you see. It starts with what you believe, what you think, and what you carry in your spirit. That's why people who never master their inner world live at the mercy of every storm around them. But when you cultivate strength within, when you build resilience in your spirit, you can stand unshaken no matter what comes against you. Too many people are trying to fix external problems without addressing internal realities. They chase money, titles, relationships, and recognition, thinking those things will solve the emptiness inside. But hear me. If your soul is restless, nothing outside of you will ever feel like enough. That's why we see people who appear successful on the surface but are broken and tormented on the inside. They gained the world but lost themselves in the process. The outer world can never compensate for an impoverished inner life. Peace doesn't begin with possessions. It begins with perspective. When you invest in your inner world, you start to see transformation everywhere else. A calm spirit creates calm decisions. A focused mind produces focused results. A healed heart attracts healthier relationships. What you are on the inside eventually manifests on the outside. That's why the ancient wisdom says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. Your heart, your mind, your inner being, they are the wellspring from which your entire life flows. If the water at the source is polluted, the stream will be polluted. But if the source is pure, everything downstream flourishes. Think of it this way. Your inner world is a thermostat, and your outer world is just a temperature reading. If you don't like the reading, you don't smash the thermometer. You adjust the thermostat. Too many people are trying to change the readings of their lives, the money, the status, the recognition, without ever changing the setting inside. Until you shift your mindset, until you align your inner beliefs with your purpose, your outer world will keep reflecting your inner state. Real change begins within, and here's the beauty of it. When you master your inner world, you become unshakable. Life can throw storms, people can betray you, circumstances can shift, but you remain steady. Because you understand that your peace isn't anchored in them, it's anchored in you. Your joy doesn't rise and fall with the economy. Your confidence doesn't rise and fall with someone else's opinion. Your identity doesn't rise and fall with public approval. You've built your house on rock, not on sand. That's what inner mastery does. So I ask you today, what are you feeding your inner world? What voices are you listening to? What thoughts are you rehearsing? What beliefs are you building your life upon? Because your outer life will always echo the condition of your inner life. If you want to see change around you, start by changing within you. Feed your spirit with truth. Guard your mind with discipline. Align your heart with purpose. Because when your inner world is whole, your outer world will align with it, and no storm, no setback, no enemy can take that away from you. There comes a time in your life when you must learn to tune out the noise. The voices of the crowd will always be there. Opinions, criticisms, judgments, comparisons, doubts, gossip. If you try to live by the volume of the crowd, you will never hear the whisper of your own soul. Too many people are paralyzed because they are listening to too many voices. One says go left, another says go right. Another says you're not enough, and another says you'll never make it. But the crowd doesn't know your calling. The crowd didn't hear the vision that was planted in your heart. Crowd wasn't in the room when God spoke to your spirit. That's why you must silence the noise and return to your own voice. The truth is, crowds are unstable. One day they will cheer for you, and the next day they will crucify you. One moment they will celebrate your success, and the next they will resent it. If you anchor your identity in their applause, you will be destroyed by their rejection. You cannot live your life at the mercy of public opinion. Greatness requires you to detach from the need for constant validation. If you only move when they approve, you will never move at all. Silence is your strength, because in the quiet, you remember who you are apart from their voices. Think of every great visionary, every great leader, they were misunderstood. They were ridiculed. They were criticized, the crowd didn't see what they saw, and if they had waited for the crowd's approval, history would have been robbed of their contribution. Your destiny is too important to be silenced by their doubt. You must reach a point where their voices no longer determine your choices. Hey, the noise of the crowd fades when the sound of your purpose grows louder. Silencing the noise doesn't mean the voices will disappear. It means they will lose their power over you. The critics will still talk. The doubters will still doubt. The envious will still envy. But you will no longer be moved by it because you've learned to discern the difference between truth and noise. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every attack deserves your energy. When you focus on defending yourself against every voice, you waste the strength needed to build your vision. Silence teaches you where to place your attention. There is a sacred power in solitude. When you withdraw from the noise, you give yourself the gift of stillness. In that stillness, wisdom rises. In that stillness, clarity is born. In that stillness, you hear the quiet direction that tells you, this is the way, walk in it. The greatest revelations don't come in the roar of the crowd. They come in the silence of your own focus. That is why you must guard your inner space. Sir, because if you don't learn to silence the crowd will silence you. So I say to you today, stop allowing the noise to dictate your destiny. Stop letting their words become your prison. Your purpose is louder than their opinions, but you must train your spirit to hear it. Turn down the volume of the crowd and turn up the volume of your vision. Walk in the quiet strength of knowing who you are and where you're going. Because when you master the art of silence, the crowd loses its control, and you step boldly into the life you were always meant to live. Wherever you direct your attention, that is where your life will expand. If you spend your days consumed with fear, doubt, and insecurity, those things will multiply in your reality. But if you discipline yourself to focus on growth, healing, and vision, those seeds will flourish. Life is always feeding on the energy you give it. What you magnify, you multiply. What you dwell on, you empower. That's why it is so critical to be intentional about where you place your attention. Because your attention is the currency of your destiny. What you invested in will determine the return you receive. Too many people are wasting their energy on distractions that do not matter. They are pouring their focus into gossip, comparing themselves with others, scrolling endlessly through what everyone else is doing, instead of building what they were created to do. And then they wonder why their dreams feel starved, why their purpose feels weak, why their spirit feels tired. It is because they are feeding everything but themselves. Hear me, you cannot water everyone else's garden while neglecting your own and expect fruit to grow. Energy flows where attention goes. If you neglect, your purpose will wither. Think of your mind as fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant in it will grow. If you keep planting thoughts of doubt, insecurity, and fear, don't be surprised when your life is filled with weeds. But if you plant seeds of faith, resilience, discipline, and vision, you will harvest strength, clarity, and progress. Your life is not a product of chance. It's a product of focus. If you want to change the harvest, you must change the seeds you're planting. And the seeds you plant are the thoughts and actions you give your attention to daily. Attention is not just about what you look at, it's about what you feed. Some of you are feeding your pain more than your purpose. You rehearse your failures more than your victories. You dwell on the people who hurt you more than the vision that could heal you. But understand this, every moment you spend dwelling on the past is energy stolen from the future. Every ounce of focus wasted on negativity is fuel taken away from your destiny. You have to decide, will you feed your wounds or you feed your wisdom? Will you empower your fears or will you empower your faith? When you redirect your attention with discipline, you reclaim your power. Suddenly, the distractions lose their grip because your focus is sharper. Suddenly, the negativity around you doesn't control you because your energy is invested in something greater. Suddenly, you no longer feel drained because your energy is flowing toward life, not toward death. You become intentional about your time, protective of your focus, and strategic with your attention. That's when momentum builds. That's when doors begin to open. That's when opportunities appear, not because they weren't there before, but because now you have the eyes to see them. So I challenge you, take inventory of where your attention has been flowing. Are you pouring into people, habits, and thoughts that are building you, or into ones that are breaking you? Redirect your focus, protect your energy, guard your attention as if your future depends on it, because it does. Energy flows where attention goes, and if you give your attention to growth, you will grow. If you give it to purpose, you will rise. If you give it to destiny, you will fulfill it. The power has always been in your hands. It just needed your focus to unlock it. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the world around you. It is against the world within you. The battle against fear, against self-doubt, against procrastination, against the impulses that try to pull you off course. Too often we think victory means conquering others, proving ourselves to them, or rising above their expectations. But true victory is not measured in comparison. True victory is self-mastery, the ability to govern your own mind, discipline your own emotions, and direct your own choices. Because if you cannot master yourself, you will always be enslaved by circumstances, temptations, and distractions. Self-mastery begins with awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to face. Many people run from themselves. They drown their inner conflicts with busyness, with noise, with substances, with people, anything to avoid confronting the truth. But mastery requires you to look in with honesty. It requires you to ask, what are the habits, the thoughts, the patterns within me that keep sabotaging my growth? Until you confront them, they will control you. But the moment you face them with courage, you take the first step toward mastery. Discipline is the foundation of self-mastery. Self-mastery. You will never rise above the level of your discipline. It is easy to give in to every feeling, to follow every impulse, to let emotions dictate your life. But greatness is not built on feelings. It is built on choices. Discipline says, I will not be ruled by what I feel in the moment. I will be guided by what I know is right for my future. Discipline is when you wake up early, even when you don't feel like it. When you speak life instead of negativity. When you keep moving forward, even when the weight of doubt tries to pull you back. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Understand this. If you cannot master your emotions will master you. Anger will make your decisions for you. Fear will write your story. Insecurity will dictate your relationships. But when you master your emotions, you become unshakable. You still feel the fear, but it does not control you. You still feel the anger, but you don't let it destroy you. You still feel the doubt, but you don't allow it to stop you. Self-mastery doesn't mean you no longer feel. It means you no longer bow to what you feel. That is strength. That is freedom. That is freedom. And let me tell you this, self-mastery is a lifelong pursuit. You will not perfect it in a day, but you can practice it every day. Every moment you choose discipline over distraction. Every moment you choose faith over fear. Every moment you choose growth over comfort. You are mastering yourself. And each victory, no matter how small, builds momentum. Self-mastery compounds, and soon you will look back and realize you have become stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you ever thought possible. When you master yourself, you no longer fear what others may try to do to you. You are no longer swayed by circumstances, no longer tossed by the storms of life. You carry an inner stability that cannot be purchased, cannot be imitated, and cannot be taken away. That is why self-mastery is the greatest victory, because when you win within, you win everywhere. The greatest kingdom you will ever rule is the kingdom of your own mind, your own spirit, your own choices. And when you conquer that kingdom, you have already conquered the world. Inside of you, there is a seed planted by the divine, crafted with intention, designed with precision. That seed carries your gifts, your calling, your vision, your unique fingerprint on the earth. Nobody else carries that exact seed. Nobody else has your combination of experiences, wisdom, creativity, and perspective. And yet so many people go through life never watering that seed. They bury it under fear, under doubt, under comparison, under excuses, and wonder why their lives feel empty. The truth is, fulfillment doesn't come from imitating someone else's harvest. It comes from cultivating your own seed. This seed inside of you is not ordinary. It was placed there for a purpose larger than you. It is meant to bless others, to heal, to inspire, to create, to solve problems, to leave the world better than you found it. But a seed, no matter how powerful, cannot grow without attention. You can't leave it unattended and expect it to bloom. It must be nurtured through faith, watered with discipline, and protected with focus. Too many lives remain barren, not because the seed wasn't planted, but because it was never cultivated. And here's the thing, you cannot compare your seed with someone else's. An oak tree does not envy a rose. A river does not compete with the ocean. Each creation thrives when it fulfills its design. Your seed may not look like theirs, but it carries its own greatness. Some seeds take longer to sprout. Some grow in hidden places before they break through the surface. But every seed has its season, and your responsibility is not to rush it, not to resent it, but to nurture it. Trust the process of your seed, because the one who planted it already knows the harvest it's meant to produce. Understand this, every trial, every hardship, every season of delay is not destroying your seed, it's developing it. Pressure builds the roots. Waiting strengthens the stem. Struggles teach the seed to reach deeper, to anchor itself firmly so that when it blooms, it cannot easily be shaken. You may feel buried, but you are not buried. You are planted. And there is a difference. Being buried is the end of something. Being planted is the beginning of something greater. Your seed is not forgotten. It is being prepared. The tragedy of life is not that people lack seeds, but that they abandon them. They give up too soon. They allow fear to choke it, excuses to starve it, distractions to steal it. They look at the ground and see nothing happening, so they stop watering. But destiny demands consistency. You must keep showing up, keep nurturing, keep believing, even when nothing seems to be changing. Because the most important growth happens beneath the surface, unseen by the human eye. If you stay faithful in time, that seed will break through the soil of obscurity and manifest into the vision it was created to be. And when it does, when your seed blossoms, it will not just bless you, it will bless generations. Because the seed within you is not just about you, it is about the impact you were born to make. Someone's healing is connected to your seed. Someone's breakthrough is tied to your seed. Someone's inspiration, hope, or direction will flow from the seed you choose to cultivate. So don't abandon it. Don't neglect it. Guard it, water it, and believe in it. Because the divine never plants a seed without a purpose, and your purpose is waiting for you to let that seed grow. My friends, after everything we've walked through together, the warnings against comparison, the freedom of detachment, the power of the inner world, the necessity of silence, the truth about energy and attention, the call to self-mastery, and the seed planted within you, let me leave you with this. Your life is not an accident. It is an assignment. You are here on purpose, for a purpose, and with a purpose. But that purpose will never be fulfilled if you keep living outward instead of inward, if you keep chasing others instead of cultivating yourself. The greatest tragedy is not death. It is life lived unfulfilled, potential buried, destiny aborted, because someone chose to follow the noise instead of the voice inside. You must understand that comparison is a thief of destiny. Every time you measure yourself against another person's life, you lose sight of the miracle of your own. No two seeds grow the same way. No two callings unfold on the same timeline. The oak tree does not look at the rose and feel threatened. It simply grows into what it was designed to be. And that is your assignment, to stop measuring your worth against others and start measuring your faithfulness to what has been entrusted to you. Detachment is not rejection, it is redirection. When you release what no longer serves you, you make space for what is meant to elevate you. Stop clinging to environments, people, and opinions that drain your spirit. Stop needing the validation of those who cannot see your vision. Your destiny doesn't need their permission. Sometimes God will pull you away, not to punish you, but to prepare you. You must trust that every closed door is pointing you toward an open one, and every loss is setting you up for gain. Your inner world sets the tone for everything else. You cannot expect peace outwardly if you are at war inwardly. You cannot expect clarity around you if confusion reigns within you. Guard your heart, train your mind, align your spirit, because everything in your life flows from there. If you want to change your reality, you must first change your mentality. And to do that, you must silence the noise of the crowd. People will always have opinions. They will cheer today and criticize tomorrow, but their voices cannot dictate your choices. Your assignment is too precious to be drowned in the chatter of the crowd. In the stillness of your own spirit, you will find clarity, direction, and peace. Remember, energy flows where attention goes. If you waste your focus on gossip, fear, or envy, you starve your destiny. But if you pour your attention into growth, vision, and faith, your life multiplies. Attention is fuel, and wherever you send it, that is where your life will expand. But the greatest victory of all is not conquering others, it is conquering yourself. Master your mind, discipline your emotions, train your habits. Because when you win within, you win everywhere. Self-mastery is freedom, and it is the foundation for greatness. And finally, never forget the seed within you. It was planted by the divine, designed with intention, and destined to bless the world. Don't bury it in fear. Don't abandon it in doubt. Nurture it, protect it, and give it time to grow. Because when it blossoms, it won't just change your life. It will change the lives of everyone connected to you. So I leave you with this truth. Focus on yourself, not others. Focus on your growth, your healing, your seed, your calling. Because the moment you do, you unlock the divine potential within you. And nothing, no voice, no storm, no setback can stop a person who has chosen to live fully in their purpose.